Hi US Blue Cure growers, welcome to Foley Seeds YouTube channel and this video specifically about NC960. So in summary, as most of you probably already know, NC960 is a very high yielding variety compared to what is commercially available as of 2024, 2025. It's highly black shank resistant. It doesn't have the best granule wilt resistance. It is a late maturing variety that many growers have commented to me that will hold in the field for a very long time. Well, how does NC960 perform? How does the market like NC960? Well, thanks to a lot of tobacco companies that have worked with us for the last 3 years on assigning a color grade to samples we've collected, and then in demonstrating to us how usable that variety is. Of the samples we collected, 80% of the time, it was selected to fall into an L to an F color range, with the other 20% falling into an FR to FRH. So what does that say to me? That means that roughly it's kind of falling in line with where the market trends are going. Obviously, if you have an export contract, but then you also are dealing with a domestic manufacturer and you need a little bit of that FR to FRH overripe tobacco style, it has a place and it fits. Now, how did it grade? How usable is it? So just like a traditional situation, first quality being the best, 5 being absolutely unusable. 90% of the time, dealers put it into a first or second quality. In this data set, you do have some that fell into a fourth quality, but I think that is because of that FR and that FRH style that we were seeing in a couple of different situations. And the manufacturers were putting it more at 87%. And again, I think that is because some of the samples that we did provide were very, very bright. So, and those obviously would not necessarily be very usable to those companies. Now, let's talk about production recommendations. I really only have 2 main recommendations, and that comes from the 2024 season. I believe to manage the height of the plant and the physics of the plant, we need to plant first and top long before we see even 10% bloom. That's my personal opinion. Use that as you will. But here's why. NC960, like I said, is one of the most late maturing varieties that we have currently available. I'm putting the number 145 days from transplant to final harvest on it, but honestly, I think in some situations it could go even further. So if it was one of the first that you planted, and let's pretend like the first day you start planting is April 22nd, we would be seeing you still in the field until the latter half of September, but I honestly think it could go even further than that. And especially with that 80% L to F color range, and then that 20% FR to FRH, that latter half of that tobacco will very much be able to give you that manufacturer style that you might need, while still being able to mostly comply with that need of really bright for the export contracts. Now then, with the topping recommendation, some people say that the desired leaf count is 21 to 22 leaves per plant. Again, I think it completely depends on your personal situation, but maybe even depends on plant population. Also depends on whether or not you plan to delug. If you plan to delug, I might go up to 24, 25. Another way to look at it is 120,000 leaves per acre, or harvestable leaves per acre. That is a recommendation from the Georgia Tobacco Production Guide back when I first started. Look at your operation and look at what you need to be doing. However, if you wait for full flower, or if you wait for 50% flower, or if you even wait until you see a button, chances are you're going to have way more leaves than you need. We're talking possibly as much as 30 or more. And that puts energy into leaves that, number one, are going to go away. They're just going to go on the ground. Number 2, you're opening yourself up to a really intense situation regarding plant dynamics and the ability for it to stand up against wind. So trying to stay ahead of any possible wind damage by cutting it down as soon as possible, putting energy into the leaves that you're actually going to harvest, but also reinitiate root growth that'll anchor that plant down, get it the nutrients it needs much faster, and honestly, you're probably even going to stay ahead of sucker control. So to me, it's a very good situation to, number one, maximize yield, but also protect that plant from any elements that we might be subjected to. So that's all I've got. As always, please use these recommendations as a resource in complement to first our extension specialist and your extension agent. Please do not use this as your first source of information. Always talk to them. You can let them know what we think, and we can have a conversation with them about that, because they know your farm better than I do. And also these recommendations are based on tobacco we've seen from Georgia to Pittsylvania County, Virginia. And that gets really difficult to make recommendations that are isolated on just your farm. So please talk to local support, extension support. And as always, myself, Brandon, Garland, we're here to help. So just give us a call. Thank you so much, and wishing you the best year.